Hello everyone. I'm going to show you today a new feature from ServiceNow that came with the New York release. This is the dynamic translation. Dynamic translation is a plugin that will allow your ServiceNow instance to work with machine translation services like IBM Watson or Google or Microsoft, and it will provide capability to translate dynamically generated text such as form fields that get populated or filled out by your end users, or the work notes activity stream when your technicians fill them out in English so that your end users have a capability to translate those fields to their preferred language in the system. um, this feature, I'll show you right now step by step how to enable this feature and how to use it. But once it's enabled and all set, it will look like this. Inside of the incident form, you have the short description, for example, is written in a language that appears like Spanish to me, but you have the translate button. You click on translate button and it will translate it to English because my preferred language, I'm logged in and my preferred language in the system is English, so I get it in English. So there you go. And the same thing for the work notes. So this is a customer comment that may have been also in Spanish. So I have the translate button here and the machine translation through IBM, in my case, translated it back to English for me. So this feature is available on the form here and on Service Portal. So if you go to Service Portal and bring up any incident, and I could be as an end user here, and a technician may be uh, communicating in the work notes in English, for example. If my preferred language in the system would have been Spanish, I would be able to translate, and it would translate me English to Spanish. In this case, this is in Spanish, and I'm logged in. My preferred language as an end user is English, so I'll hit translate, and I will get the translation in my language. So how do I get this enabled? First of all, you have to install the plugin. I have already installed that, so I'll just show you briefly how to do it. Go to plugins in the application search and look for dynamic translation. So this is the plugin that you would install. The plugin will come with some dynamic translation APIs that you can use for your services in the scripting. It will also allow you to do what I did on the form. And also, it will provide some integration with Integration Hub. So you'll have the Integration Hub spoke so that you can use a dynamic translation in your spoke as a spoke inside of Integration Hub flows. So after you enable the plugin, you'll go to Credentials, Connection and Credential Aliases. You will look for the any translation service. By default, the system comes with two, IBM or Microsoft. You can use Google if you install the Google translation spoke from the store, and then you'll be able to use Google. But for this example, I used IBM. So what I did, I went to the IBM Watson site. I set up a free account if you want to try it out, and you can set up the language translator services. You'll copy the credential, which is basically an API key, and then you will need the URL for the service, and you'll copy this section of the URL only. You go to the connection and credentials, open up the IBM translation, switch your scope to the IBM Watson translator scope, and create a new connection. I already did, but you would have to click on new, give it a name, any name, put the URL from the IBM account over here. I'm sorry, I didn't copy that, but it will be this one right here. You will copy that URL, connection URL, give it a name, save it, and then open up the credential, create a new credential, and in our case it's going to be basic auth. So you look for basic authentication credentials, give it a name like IBM or whatever. The username for IBM will be API key, and the password will be the key that you generate. So you will show credential, copy this key, and put it in as a password and save it. And then you go back to your connection and you point to the new credential that you created, IBM credential, and you save the whole record. So that's from connection and credentials. Then you'll go to dynamic translation under the translator configuration. You will go there and you will select the service that you want it to be active. By default, both of them will be active false. In my case, I decided to go with IBM. So you open this record. If you don't have access to edit it, you will switch your scope to the dynamic translation application, and set this record to active true and set it to default. You need to have at least one default entry. So that's what I did, and that's it from a setup perspective. Now, there is a prerequisite for this. You need to have the Knowledge Management Advanced plugin enabled, and you need to have the versioning, article versioning, system property or knowledge property enabled. So you should be able to you should have that enabled to properly use the dynamic translation service. Once you've set all of these, go back to your form and bring up, let's say, the incident form. You can choose any field on the form, any field to be set for dynamic translation. In my case, I use the short description. By default, you will get the work notes or the activity stream comments and work notes. They will automatically become enabled for translation. I'll bring an open incident already to show you. So once you decide on the field that you want to use, you'll go to the dictionary and you need to configure in the dictionary the dynamic translation so that you can see this icon right here next to the field. So as I said, by default, you will get the activity stream, work notes, and external comments enabled for the translation on both the incident form, the platform UI, and service portal. So it will work in both places. If you want to enable, let's say, short description, you right click and you go to configure dictionary. I have done it already, but I'll show you how to do it. And here it is coming from the task table. So if you want, you can continue to configure it for the task table, the short description. You'll go to attributes. You will create a new attribute called dynamic translation enabled with the value of true. So you click new, look for the dynamic translation enabled, and you set the value true and you save it. I have done that already. Once you save it as an attribute for this dictionary field, you'll go back to the form and you should see the icon translate icon next to the field, and that will be it for the translation. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.